So before we get going, formally, I just want to thank everybody for taking your time to be here for this this press conference. We would have full council here, but we have several reasons where we can't have full council because there's an Okanagan Nation Alliance annual General Assembly in Penticton, so we've got some of our people there, and Councillor Mick Burchik is with me, and one of our council members is on holidays. But we do have our own internal communications and our administrative staff. So, if you wish, we could certainly have some introductions. If you wish, we're open here. So.
And also, Virginia's going to bring up the phone line in case people were going to phone in. Are you guys all set up and good? Everything's good?
Okay. Yeah. Ralph, do you want to?
Ralph Figueroa, Government Affairs Manager and a member of West Bank First Nation.
Welcome to teleconferencing. To join the conference, enter your access code followed by the number sign.
I'm Pat Bosbury. I'm the Director of Operations for West Bank.
At the tone, please say your
Harold,
name
Communications
followed by the
Manager.
number sign.
Christy Jean,
West Bank First Nation, Economic Development.
You are currently the only participant in this conference.
Stephanie Trenholm, Communications at West Bank First Nation.
Kevin Kingston, Council Secretary at West Bank First Nation.
Virginia Game, Corporate Executive Assistant.
Great. Well, again, welcome and thank you very, very much. I don't know what everyone's time is like this morning, but we want to make sure there's sufficient time to take questions that you might have and give the chance for me to respond. So, with that, I'd like to proceed. I wish to make some comments on the Medical Center project on the WFN lands. Over the past several weeks, there has been some extremely negative comments expressed to the media by a small handful of our band members. This is unfortunate, and all those comments expressed in the media have had a negative impact on the integrity of this council, this administration, our membership as a whole, and to some extent, the businesses located within WFN lands. I wish to address this issue and to clarify some of the statements and misrepresentations made and expressed to the media. Firstly, the Medical Center project is not dead. We are currently undertaking a thorough review of the Medical Center project with our membership. This is taking time and will involve many more meetings with our membership and will likely involve many months to complete that review. I, personally, and I believe our council, support and steadfastly stand behind a medically themed development. And this is based on the expert research that has been done throughout Canada and also based on the demographics of the Okanagan Valley. I believe that it is reasonable to assume that the medical center, as previously proposed, may well change in design and may flow into what we now refer to as a potential center of excellence. And that theme and that development is proposed and being looked at very carefully on the site chosen to complement one another. I won't speculate on what it might eventually look like, and all of this will be dependent upon what our membership ultimately want on our lands. As time has moved ahead on this medical project, we have unquestionably incurred hiccups along the way. This can be expected by any project. One of those hiccups is that our partners, our general partner, did not meet our expectations. One of their key responsibilities was to bring financing to the table. This, unfortunately, did not happen. Our membership is justifiably disappointed on this. Council shares in that disappointment. We had hoped to have the project lifted off the ground months, if not at least a year ago. West Bank First Nation has done our part. We have provided the land, we've serviced the land, we've provided all of the infrastructure required and put the proper land designations in place. I also believe that considerable public and government support has been generated for this project. More recently, we have effectively been saddled with a debt brought on by our general partners. This has caused some friction amongst some of our band membership. We will be going into an election August of next year, and politics within the membership has been fueled by this issue. While this is a private matter within our membership, some of our members have chosen to bring it to the public forum. Again, this is why I have chosen today to speak out on behalf of our businesses, the WFN government, and our community. Now, to address the financing and the debt issue, there has absolutely been no breach of council governance on our capacity, nor has there been a WFN constitutional breach, nor a breach of our requirements that we operate under. To further clarify, monies borrowed for this project were not done by WFN, but rather by our general partner. No taxation dollars whatsoever were utilized, nor can never be utilized for WFN corporate or WFN wholly owned membership initiatives. What WFN did when our general partner incurred the debt for their loan for this project was that we firstly put up the land for this project via a referendum. And this was duly supported and voted upon by our membership. In fact, we received overwhelming referendum support by our membership. Westbank First Nation did not guarantee the loan, but we indemnified our general partner and the bank in that loan. Our general partner did not repay the loan. Therefore, we are now responsible to address that debt. Addressing that debt is the responsible thing to do. We will hold true to that indemnification. This is business, and we will not shirk in our responsibilities. I might add that it is our clear intent to get the lands back unencumbered and to honor our commitments. For further clarification, the lands in question comprise approximately 15 acres of WFN community land, and our members are all stakeholders in that community land. Profits or losses of those lands through corporate projects or otherwise are shared as own source revenue. Other examples of that include 2 shopping centers that WFN has an invested interest in on our lands, ventures in construction, real estate, and forestry, which have generated significant profits for WFN. Anyone that thinks that WFN is not in a strong and healthy financial position better think again. Business continues as usual. Here are some recorded statistics regarding WFN. Our revenues increased $7.9 million this past fiscal year. Our net financial assets grew 4% last year to $40.1 million, and that included $6 million that was spent on capital projects in 2014. WFN's accumulated surplus is now at $100 million. Westbank First Nation is very business-minded. However, like every business out there, there are ups and downs. I can tell you that the capital projects continue to be a key priority for WFN, and this includes things like membership housing, education, training, capacity building for our youth. In that vein, we're about to construct a youth center valued at in excess of $5 billion. That construction is about to get underway. We have 10 more housing starts and 6 more on the way right now as we speak. We've been making significant new public beach improvements. We have some very large capital projects under discussion with the province right now. We are pleased as well that our Pine Acres Home Collective Agreement has just been signed, a 5-year agreement, and we're going to be celebrating that situation here this afternoon. many good things are happening with WFN, and this meeting here this morning, or this conference this morning, is meant to clarify some of the things that have tarnished our reputation, and it's time that this be known, and I'm prepared to answer any questions that the media might have. So I open the floor for
Chief, can you
your
just elaborate on the
comments.
15 acres? Does the band not control that land now? What's the status of this 15-acre parcel? Who owns it?
Well, actually, it's slightly less than 15 acres right now because of the new road that's been built as part of the infrastructure. But it's somewhat less than 15 acres, so I believe it's probably closer to 12 acres potentially. So right now, there is a lease that is on that property. That lease has an encumbered debt on it, and it's a debt that was generated by our general partner. And what we did to allow for the potential construction that we anticipated by our general partners is to put up the land as our vested security for this project.
For what value?
Well, the value is something that our general partner put together. They have the full responsibility of that debt, but I think it's well stated in the previous media communication.
7.9 million then?
In or about that figure.
That's
that may
the
be
debt?
subject to negotiation.
That's the debt. It's a $15 million loan, but it's at 7.9 million.
Yes,
right now.
the full $15 million wasn't drawn upon.
Was there a lien on this property then?
There's an encumbrance by the bank on the property, and our involvement right now, because we could choose to leave the lands go and not pay a cent. However, that is not the responsible thing to do. And it's been made clear by our membership that our members want that land back unencumbered. So that puts the onus on us to indemnify that loan. And that's a matter that's being done now.
So have you started paying that? It's my understanding it hasn't been paid since February.
No, we're going to a band membership vote as to which way we cover that debt, and
When's
that's coming very soon. That's in the next several weeks.
So who are your general partners, or is it singular? One partner?
Yes, one partner, Advidum Healthcare. I think that is well documented in
And
past
that
media
partnership
statements.
is still active and ongoing? And
It's still ongoing for the time being.
Does
there any-
that suggest that might change
It may change.
based on?
Well, based on the responsibility that should we move with the honoring that debt, then we may well have to make some changes. I think that is very much expected by our general partner.
So they are raising new funds. Is that what's the status of that?
We have been approached by many investors. The interest in this project remains high, notwithstanding what's occurred here in this last year or so. So we have been approached by a number of parties, all of which have been considered. Our past involvement with our general partner, they say that they have some other people. All of this is all possible in the future. And I can decisively give you the conclusion that there is high interest by many potential investors that remains in this project. It is something that we know can be very viable. It's needed in the Okanagan Valley, and we believe that a medically themed development of this magnitude or of this nature is going to bring huge benefits, not only to WFN, but Kelowna, the Okanagan Valley, the country at large.
What can you say about the $150 million that was raised by Oxbridge? I know there's a claim by WFN of I believe a police file opened on that.
Firstly, they did not raise any monies to that regard. They were a broker brought on by our general partner, and yes, our understanding is that the RCMP investigation continues to be made on that, and I can't comment any more because I don't know exactly the status of the RCMP investigation at this moment.
But it centers on the 2.5 million that they
That's correct.
took,
That's
essentially
correct.
for their fee without providing financing.
That's correct.
Have they said? Can you say anything about why they withdrew that funding?
It's a legal matter, and I suspect that's going to be the heart of the RCMP investigation, depending on where it goes.
Have you spoken with the RCMP about this?
Yes, I have. Yes.
It's my understanding they make a claim that your partners were in breach of securities laws. Is that correct?
I can't comment on that because that's a matter I'm not privy to at this point in time. So I don't know exactly what is being investigated in that. That's a matter that really involves our general partner and their agreement with Oxbridge.
But the understanding is Oxbridge is claiming your partners were in breach of securities law.
They may well be doing that. I don't know what significance or how far that will go or whether or not there's any breach. That is a matter, I believe, that will ultimately have to be decided by the courts or some outside source. It won't involve WFN.
So what due diligence does the WFN have to do with a partnership like this? It seems like this is a partner representing WFN somewhat and doing a bunch of things you don't know about.
One of the things that we've done here is to protect WFN's interest, and in so doing, that is why all of the legal advice, the accounting advice that we receive constantly on this is to preserve the integrity and to preserve the responsibility of WFN. That's what we've done. That's what we've done. So we've structured this on the continuous legal advice of our counsel, so that we are not the ones that are going to be totally liable unless we choose to be. And in this choosing, we have indemnified it, meaning that the bank cannot come after WFN to pay that debt. If we choose not to, there's nothing that the bank can do with forcing us to pay. However, when we have indemnification, if we want that leased land back, then we are required to cover that debt. And that's the matter that we feel is very responsible for us to do, and that's what we're choosing to do.
Robert, there was an audit requested, and you guys have tried to provide an audit to the membership around the $8 million, the $7.9 million. The accountant could not verify where the money had gone, all the disbursements from the account. Do you have any idea where the $8 million has gone and what it was used for, or is that?
Firstly, let me clarify this.
Sure.
WFN's involvement has been fully documented and fully clarified. There is no fault in WFN. I believe the audit has shown that our general partner had been asked to provide more information. So this office right now, we still don't have all of the 100% details. So that's a matter that our general partner will have to answer. So you're going to have to ask our general partner about that.
They say they have the documents that were not included in the audit.
They may well have. Then let's see them. So
you've not seen them yet.
I haven't seen the full complete package. But
has anybody asked for them since?
I can't answer that question because I don't know their full internal affairs.
They also claim that
I do
they're
not.
conducting their own audit with their own accountant. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I don't. No, I haven't. I don't know what they're doing at this point in time.
Have they paid management fees throughout this process?
Yes, they have.
How much was that?
I don't know the amount offhand, but it's management fees paid to themselves.
$700,000 each per year?
That may well be in that figure. I don't know that amount, or offhand.
You say the partnership's still active, yet it seems like there's a lot of almost mistrust or questioning of what's going on. Is that why you're looking at possibly changing partners?
Well, I think it comes down to the membership involvement. Certainly, from a perspective of the membership, we're going to be saddled with the requirement, if we want the land back, we're going to have to pay to cover that debt. And that's a matter that, we've had lots of discussions with our membership, and it's very clear from our discussions that that's exactly what our membership wants us to do. So that's what we're undertaking to do.
The Constitution calls for a referendum with any debt over $500,000. You're going to have to go to referendum on this? Because it is a debt. I mean, I understand how you got into it, but it is an $8 million debt.
What we have now is a decision that our membership will have to make, and I will not predict the outcome of where and how they wish us to pay. The fact is that if we want the land back, we're going to have to cover that debt. So there's different methods we can use, and this is again a private matter within our membership. We have the wherefore, we have the dollars. This certainly has some impact, but won't have a significant impact that's going to disrupt the operations here.
Your recommendation to them would be? Pay the
Well,
debt?
my recommendation to them will be choose the option that you wish, and it's your choice, and the majority will decide as to how this debt is going to be repaid.
You say that the band's finances are in excellent shape.
Yes, they are.
In order to pay back that $8 million, do you have a reserve that covers this type of thing, or where would it have to come from?
We have reserves within the WFN, so this matter is a business matter, so it will have some, as I mentioned, some impact, and we have the wherefore to cover any debt that's related to this project.
Aren't the majority of your reserves already spoken for? Aren't they for non-band member relations? I forget what that committee's called.
You've heard my previous statement. We have about $100 million of accumulated surplus right now. We have pots of monies. That's not a concern or a matter, really, I don't think, for the public. Again, that's an internal matter for WFN. So how we choose to repay it, that is our business, and it will remain our business.
Please press any key on your touchtone keypad to remain in conference.
So I guess the question begs, Chief, what happened here? How did this deal fall off the rails, and did the band do its due diligence?
How this matter really fell off the rails is I suppose the complexity of this project and the complexity in trying to obtain financing. Our general partner's primary responsibility was to find financing for this project. They did, in fact, find some financing, but not sufficient for this project to proceed. And precisely that's exactly where it's fallen off the rails, is lack of financing found by our general partner.
Can you speak to possible reasons for that in general? Why? You entered into this a couple of years ago very confident it would succeed and it would attract
Yes.
obviously the
I still believe it's,
investment. But what do you hear as to why they were not successful in general in terms of raising the money? What was the problem, or what was perceived to be the problem with the project?
Well, firstly, I still believe very strongly that the medical-themed facility in some format will be successful, and that will be dependent upon our membership. And your question specifically is focused where again?
Well, just what have you heard as to why? You must have asked why weren't you able to raise the money? Assuming it's not just some kind of funny business, but were investors not? Were they skeptical about the viability of this project, given that it's kind of a strange legal status with the Canada Health Act?
Those are difficult questions. I'd be speculating somewhat in that regard, but I can tell you that a project of this magnitude is a first in Canada that was to include private medical support. So that creates some difficulties by itself. That's challenges, not unsurmountable challenges, because I believe that the need, and it will happen in Canada someday. I hope that it can happen here. If it does not, it will happen somewhere in Canada, because government right now, both provincially and federally, cannot cover the deficits created by the medical needs of the country. So it has to happen. This is only one of the few countries in the whole world that you don't have full access to this type of a facility that we propose. So this facility that we proposed is meant to complement the public system. And we believe that there is so much money, in fact hundreds of millions of dollars that goes out of Canada every year that could stay in Canada. And I believe that that money must stay in Canada, and this is an opportunity to keep that money here.
Is the original sort of slide presentation, the original concept of this wellness center, it included conventional surgeries, medical procedures. Has that changed anywhere along the way?
We have some expert reports that have really analyzed the whole situation. Now that's confidential to WFN, and it will remain confidential. What I can say is that there are certain medical issues that need to be addressed, and there are too long of wait lists on many areas, and there's a lot of public, I suppose, being antagonized over not having the support when you need it. So those are some of the areas that we know that will have to be addressed, and according to some of the expert reports that we have, and they've been quite extensive, there's been a lot of thought put into it. That's where we believe the focus will have to happen in the future. So I'm not at liberty to tell you exactly all those steps, but there is going to be a multitude of needs, and we believe that we can address those needs. But I want to make it very, very clear that, of course, is all dependent upon our membership saying this is something that we wish to continue with. I hope that happens. That time is going to tell.
If I can just get a little more specific, has it evolved into more of a plastic surgery concept?
Elective
I can't say
surgery
that's
concept.
involved more in the in plastic surgery. That's certainly one of the issues that's been considered. You know, the need for significant eye repair. I mean, there's a number of areas that need to be looked at.
Robert, the original concept was counting on these fairly complicated procedures. Were you counting on WFN's status as self-governing and to sort of exempt you from some of the provisions that are applied to other private clinics, and has that since proven to be wrong?
Nothing's been proven to be wrong whatsoever. We believe that we've done what we need to do in land designations and otherwise. We believe that there is still support, and we've had discussions with both levels of government, and I'm not privy to tell you the exact content of those discussions, other than I firmly believe that there's government support behind this project. It's inevitable.
Aren't you relying on a constitutional opinion for this, though?
We've had our own legal research done on this, and we're satisfied that this is a matter that still can be done. In fact, the First Nations Health Authority has an agreement with both the federal and provincial government to move ahead in matters like this. So what is happening today is that agreement is allowing First Nations now to deal with medical-related matters. Right now, it's mainly administrative, but in the future, there still can be needs, and there has to be facilities put in place that will address the huge needs that exist not only in this province, but right across this country. So this is happening right now. So this is all part of what's moving ahead today.
Robert, there's a rumor, there's reports that a petition is circulating calling for removal of chief and council for constitutional violations. How would you respond to that?
Nonsense. Nonsensical. It will go no place.
Why is that? Why?
Because there has been no breach of any constitutional matters, legal or otherwise, on this. I want to make this point clear, too, that these are very significant matters. Every step that WFN takes in matters of this nature, we bring on legal counsel. Legal counsel are by our side, and they give us advice throughout this process. That's happened throughout this process and will continue to happen in each of these major steps. And we have been satisfied, and we've had our own reviews done by external legal counsel as well, which make it very, very clear, no breach, no possibility for removal of this council. So I say to those members, bring it on. If they want to challenge it, bring it on.
How come you responded then to the petition for the audit if you don't feel that they have any position?
I think the audit is very fair, and we've done our best to say full disclosure to our membership. We've not hidden anything. Everything has been put on the table for our members, and that's been made very, very clear to our members. Our members know that. It's those who choose perhaps to confuse that with unbased facts that they believe in, and that's what's caused a bit of concern.
So in your opinion, at no time has Chief and Council ever breached the Constitution by spending or transferring more than $500,000 to any account, to any corporation, to any of that? That's all covered?
It's all covered.
What about incurring the $8 million in debt?
That's an indemnification matter. As I mentioned, we could choose not to pay any of that. If we choose, then there is no debt that we have to incur. We believe, again, I'll make it very clear, And our membership, I think, fully supports this. We have not heard one band member who says no to that. We want these lands back, and we intend to get these lands back unencumbered. And I think just as important, I think our name is at stake, and we do business above the table at all times, and we intend to honor the debts that have been incurred, and that's good business. I think that supports us as who we are, and as a government, as a community, and I think that reflects on First Nations generally in this country. I would hope every First Nation or any party honors debts that might be incurred, and this is something we intend to do.
You call it an indemnification, but it is a debt.
It is a debt that is there, but as I say, we could choose not to pay that debt.
Can you take me back to another question? Are you going to referendum with that then?
Yes, we are going to a referendum that will be put forth to our membership to decide how we repay that debt. It's already been very clearly established by membership that our members want those lands back. To get those lands back, we have to cover that debt, and that will be a matter internally as to how we cover that. And that's the matter that's private as to how we cover that debt. We have the means to do it in any direction our membership chooses.
Can you give us the date of the referendum?
Yes, I believe it's. Well, I just don't know off the top. We have some informational meetings that are taking place on that, and it will be a short time. It will be in August.
I can just go back a moment again to the question of the Constitution. There was a referendum put forward for an audit, and that audit was not provided.
The audit was provided.
Was it an audit though? Or?
It wasn't a full-blown audit. The difficulties that the auditors incurred was getting the information from our general partner. So we don't control that, but the audit of WFN was done completely.
I believe the audit called for the WFN and the partnership with Advitum.
Advitum, yes.
Yeah, and it was not an audit. I'm just saying this is one of the planks that's being shared in the petition going around.
That petition we haven't seen the full petition, but as far as the financial requirements, I think it's very, very fair, and I'm very glad that the petition actually was initially circulated to say let's just get to the financing background completely on this, and that's exactly what we did, and I think that's fair, and we willingly did that, and our auditors spent all the time that was necessary, and we spent a lot of monies to do this. This is not a process that you only spend a few $1,000s. This amounts into huge amounts of monies. Those monies have been spent, far more than that.
Far more than that on the audit?
On the audit.
So Chief, it's just after 10:30, so I know you've got a time, maybe a couple more questions?
Well, we have a lot more questions actually, Mandy, if that's okay.
Well, I do have some other engagements. I wanted to make sure we left sufficient time, but let's proceed.
Okay.
Chief, did I hear you right that you still have a relationship with your general partner?
Yes, we do. As of today, we do.
Why do you have that relationship, even though it appears to the layman that it's not sound?
That matter may change in the future. That will be dependent upon our membership. So we have a vote coming up. Once that vote is in place, if in fact what I suspect will happen, that debt will be indemnified, and at that point in time we have to make some major decisions, and that's again a private matter. So I'm sure you're going to be notified as soon as that happens.
Including possible legal action against your general partner?
I'm not going to comment or speculate on that.
Remind me who that general partner is again?
Advitum. Advitum Healthcare.
How can you assure the general public, non-band members, that no public funds are involved in this?
The audit has already confirmed that already, and this was something that we wanted to be very clear, and that's why categorically emphasized no taxation dollars or public dollars. These are monies that totally within the realm of this office, and in fact, it's a debt that still hasn't been paid. And if when that does happen, there will be no public money spent inappropriately or otherwise. We cannot do it, and we know that, and we would never do it in any event.
Don't you find it ironic that you have to fork over $8 million to get your land back?
We're not happy with that. No, we're not happy to say the least. The land is, however, the land is worth far, far more than that. And the potential of this land is so huge that it would be foolish of us not to get those lands back and to cover that debt.
And at the end of the day, who should take responsibility for this $8 million mistake?
The responsibility still rests with our general partner. That's the way contract law is.
And should the band perhaps acknowledge some responsibility in this as well?
We chose by referendum to support the concept, and it's a business relationship, and some things sometimes don't happen as planned, and unfortunately that's the situation here. We'll get out of this mess. It may cause a little bit of membership dissension, but the fact is this is an honorable First Nation and a community, and it's a debt that's going to be covered.
Robert, I want to take you back to the $8 million and the idea that that $8 million was used to pay, from what we understand, to pay the partners their annual fee. It was also used to buy a house to be used by people who were coming to town to work on the project. I'm just trying to get an understanding of, did you guys agree to let them put a mortgage on the place? You never put the mortgage on.
No, those were after the fact. As a limited partner, we didn't have the decision-making capacity to us, and it was their decision to do what they did. They did it. We don't agree with it. I might add that, but that's a matter that they had the power to do as a general partner.
Would this indicate a flaw in your partnership agreement, where they were able to do this without?
Well, put it this way, there's many things that have happened that we're not happy with. Our partner knows that.
Okay. Are you in regular communication with?
No.
Are you aware that they're working on new funding?
They've indicated that they have approached with new funding. However, the bank is called on the loan, so it better be coming real quick, because the bank calls on the loan, you better pay. Someone's going to pay.
Do you have a deadline, and has the bank said when they want their money back?
It's imminent.
In a broader sense, if I can take you back to the whole concept of a private for-profit hospital in Canada, you say you've spoken with the federal government and provincial government. We've also spoken with the federal government and the provincial government, and they seem fairly clear. Anyone who's insured in Canada cannot be charged for regular medical services.
That's all. You cannot use public funded monies. I think there's a court case that's happening in Vancouver over that. So I don't think that court case has come to fruition at this point in time yet.
Are you relying on that court case?
I'm just saying that there is one there. I'm not relying on anything.
Do you have a different opinion than what Health Canada and the province say?
We believe that First Nations are somewhat unique. I told you about the agreement that the federal and provincial government have with the First Nations Health Authority, and I believe that there is a need, and I believe that the mechanisms do exist. That's why we proceeded on the basis that we have.
Have any current council or yourself taken any salary or fee from this project?
No.
Is there any financial interest from any council member to do with this?
I'm not quite understanding your question.
Just quite simply, does anybody stand to gain from this? Say with a pharmacy or anything else in the concept plan?
None of that's ever happened, so it's all speculation at this point.
So you're not aware of anyone taking a financial interest in this?
I think we have various band members who have expressed interest. I think there's huge opportunities here, contractual and otherwise, and I know that many of our band members have expressed different aspects of this, and I think we look very reasonably at, hey, this is very possible. We'll do what we can. So, But none of that has happened at this point in time.
And that's beneficial to band members. What about counselors or yourself?
I've never taken a personal interest in this, nor have we taken a penny from this. We don't do those things. Our council cannot do those things. There is no financial benefits to any of council.
Contemplated or real? That you're aware of?
Well, you're referring to the pharmacy. Those are I think, wishes, but none of that's come to fruition.
From counselors? A counselor?
Well, there are some wishes that some of our council would have liked to have benefited had the opportunity arisen. None of that has come to fruition. None of that has come to play in any way, shape, or form.
Is that constitutional?
What do you mean?
For, say, a counselor who had some inside information about this, to maybe putting business mechanisms in place to benefit from this.
Well, I'm not about to speculate on any of that. I can tell you that there's been no constitution breached at this point in time, nor will there be a breach of our constitution.
We asked you about this a long time ago. Why now? Why take this long to respond? You mentioned that this has caused some trouble. Why take this long to respond?
I think I've clearly enunciated that. Firstly, it is still a private matter within WFN. It's none of the public's business. However, it's become of an issue for us, and when it starts affecting our businesses on the reserve, when it starts affecting the integrity of this administration, of this council, then there is a need to reply. And we've approached our membership. Our membership fully well know that situation, but it's being fueled by politics. And I think, unfortunate as that is, that's something that happens in any government.
How do you communicate with your members, like on these matters?
Very regularly. We hold meetings, informational special meetings, and we hold referendums. And we do a lot of intensive communication. I can tell you that there's been huge dialogue, and we've answered questions after questions, and basically opened up things to allow for that to occur. And that's good governance.
You say that often this is a very private matter, but yet here we are talking to the media. Does this, you don't like doing this?
Well, I don't like talking about WFN's private affairs, but I have no choice. I believe I'm forced into it, and it's a matter once it starts impacting on the integrity of this whole organization, of all of our lands, then it's the time to speak out, and that's why I'm being very forthright right now by answering your questions and trying to clarify, so that there is no misconceptions out there by the general public.
So if we can agree that maybe getting ahead of this earlier might have helped, I mean, just in a general sense, are media allowed to attend a band meeting?
No, not for the most part. That's the will. That's the will of our membership, because we deal with a lot of corporate matters. We deal a lot with a lot of private matters that it's no one else's business except our internal band members, who, you know, the government has a responsibility.
Is that in the Constitution? Is there an article somewhere that you can point to say that I couldn't come to a council meeting?
I can very clearly enunciate to you that that's the will of the membership, and certain matters we invite the public there, and we've done that. We've held various meetings and so forth. That's what we've done in the past. But when it comes down to regular business, this is a First Nation that has responsibilities. Our members have rights to the lands and so forth, and it's their business. It's not anyone else's.
But there's
business.
nothing in the Constitution or anything to say that I couldn't be at a meeting.
We are empowered as the council. If our membership says, "Hey, this is a matter that's private," and we've addressed that on many occasions when the issue arises. It's not something new that's just coming up now.
What would happen if I came to a meeting?
I'd escort you out.
Yeah, I'm afraid
On
that
behalf of the membership. On the membership, that's not their requirement or desire to have media.
Have you asked them?
Yes, numerous times. Chief has just said it to you. Numerous times.
Is it written
for the
down
public,
somewhere, like
it's
voting?
not everything has to be that way. General direction comes to our leadership, and they respect it from our members. It's simple. Don't come to your home for a barbecue, not uninvited. Simple.
Chief, what is your new deadline to have this center built?
We're going through that review process, and we're taking our time with that. We've hired people that will really look at the facts, look at the lands. We've looked at many things, and we know that that process, when you're dealing with the community, we've got over 830 members right now in total, both on and off reserve. So we're trying to reach out to everyone. We don't want to move until we've got everyone's input, or at least the opportunity for their input. And we've had many meetings already, and we're going into many, many more. So I would think that it's going to take the better part of a year by the time we finish that review, come up with different options. We know that there's high interest in many things, including training centers, including maybe even medical training. We've had discussions with the university, with the college, with other First Nations, with other potential partnerships. So all of that is happening. And we've spoke to many other potential developers who've expressed an interest in there, and they're coming forward with other ideas as well to address other First Nation matters medically and otherwise. So there is so much on the table right now. There's a lot to digest, and we believe that, and it's been commented by our membership, that having a complete integrated project is very clear. We have come to the conclusion, I can say this very clearly, that having a 100-bed or 82 one facility type structure probably is not the way to go. It has to be in some other format. I think we're looking very clearly, if this matter proves ahead, that we're going to look at taking much of the risk out. So it means complemented with other revenue generating businesses that are proven. So all of this is under discussion. So there's a lot to contemplate, a lot to do. The lands, I think very clearly our membership wants the highest and best use for the lands, and very clearly anyone we've basically talked to in the country, I think fully understands that when you're dealing with the medical center and the health-related facilities, there is a need, there is demand, and the Okanagan Valley, and specifically right here, we believe is the best place to do that, to accomplish that.
How much money do you need to raise for
all
this?
due respect, I'm not hearing a date, though. So years?
Well, I think it's going to take at least a year. I can't give you a date because that's fully dependent upon our membership. I can tell you that we have an election next August, and will something happen before then? That's speculation, but I suspect not.
How much money?
This medical center will.
I believe in some shape or form, once all of the review is taken place and everything's on the table, I think that our membership will come to the conclusion that a medically themed development would be the way to go if we want to be involved in something that has a long-lasting generation of revenues and jobs and employment and all of those good things.
Will you be seeking re-election?
Now I believe I've got no choice. I'm forced into it because I think unless something drastically changes, yes, I have no choice. I'm going to be running for election.
Primarily because of the center?
This is one of the big factors, yes.
Thank you.
What kind of funds do you need to raise to finally bring this to fruition? How much money are we looking at?
Well, that all depends. We don't think we need $150 million. It'd be far less. So it depends on how much risk we choose to take out of it. So I can tell you this: WFN has the ability within to do anything we need to do ourselves if we choose to go that route. That hasn't been decided upon, and it's something that our membership will have to make its comment on.
Saying you've got the funds to do it yourself?
We have the funds to do what we need to do for maybe not this facility, because I've already said that this facility is not something that makes good sense from all the reviews, but something related to a medical facility is very, very possible. So we don't have to turn to an outside source if we choose not to, but it will be built smaller, more slowly, and in various stages. But that is something that's right now is purely speculation, because I'm not going to say that what will or will not go ahead in the timing, because I can't. That's a matter that we have to internally discuss with our membership. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all your comments. Thank you for being here.